topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Churchill said, "Those who fail to learn from history are condemned to repeat it." Kevin Hallinan believes that certainly applies to business. Welcome to Winning Business Radio, here at W4CY Radio. That's W4CY.com. And now, your host, Kevin Hallinan.
Thanks for joining in again today. I'm Kevin Hallinan, and welcome back to Winning Business TV and Radio on W4CY.com. We are streaming live on Talk4TV.com. That's the number 4. In addition to live on Facebook, and that's at Winning Business Radio, and of course at YouTube on our channel. And we are available in podcast after the live show, wherever you get that content. Again, YouTube, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple, again, wherever you like to go. The mission of Winning Business Radio and TV, as regular viewers and listeners know, is to offer insights and advice to help people avoid the mistakes of others, right? To learn best practices, the how-tos, the what-tos, the what-not-tos, to be challenged and hopefully to be inspired by the successes of others, consultants, coaches, advisors, authors, founders and owners, entrepreneurs, people with expertise. Well, every successful person I've ever had a chance to talk to has had some form of failure in their lives and careers. So while we all have to keep our knees skinned once in a while, I'm driven to keep those scrapes from needing major surgery. Let's endeavor to learn from history so we don't repeat it. I've spent the better part of my career equipping businesses to grow, from solopreneurs to small and medium-sized companies all the way up to the Fortune 50. And I've seen some of those companies win, and to varying degrees, I've seen some of them fail. I've had the opportunity to rub elbows with some of the highest performing people around and with some who probably should have found other professions. And my own businesses, I've had lots of success, but some failures too. And I like to think I've learned a lot from those experiences. So sure, you're going to hear from me, but mostly you're going to hear from our guests, those experts, consultants, coaches, advisors, authors, founders, and owners and entrepreneurs. And today's no exception. Today, my returning guest is Ray Pasquale, entrepreneur, founder, and president. And here's his bio. Ray Pasquale is the president and CEO of Unified Office. He spent the last 25 plus years as an entrepreneurial technology professional, has extensive sales and customer engineering experience, along with proven management team leadership in dynamic emerging technology companies. In recent years, he's played a key leadership role in professional and customer services, business development, pre-sales, and technical marketing while at Sonus Networks, a market leader in voice over IP technologies. Ray was a founding member of their services organization, recruiting many of its most senior members, in fact. From 96 until 99, Ray was a key technical leader and sales consultant for Cascade Communications' worldwide sales organization. And during his tenure, they were purchased by Ascend. And Ascend is a leader in remote access technologies for the internet market, was subsequently absorbed by Lucent in a merger. Prior to 96, Ray was with Digital Equipment Company, including positions as senior consultant for worldwide network operations and technical leader and senior consultant for the Network Products Group. Ray's commitments to excellence and ideas were recognized by Digital. He received a Customer Satisfaction Award, Storage System Excellence Award, and Delta Ideas Recognition and Award. He's attended the University of Maine. Ray, welcome to Winning Business Radio, and I really appreciate you taking time to be here. And how busy you
are. Good to be here again. And if you mix it in there, some of that was, I did a lot of engineering work as well. I was one of the first people that actually built an internet network without actually having touched a router that ran the internet protocol back in those days. It was early days back in the late 90s or mid 90s, I should say, when the internet was finally coming to life. It was being delivered for free on the Unix Berkeley distribution. And when I was at Digital, we had this thing called DECnet that was all the rage. And I remember telling people, when something is given away for free, even as inferior as it might be, people are going to try to use it. And lo and behold, they did. And well, here we are, right? So it's good to be back, Kevin. It's been a while.
It has. It has. Now, you're largely self-taught.
That's true.
How does that happen? That's very technical.
Well, it turns out that, you don't necessarily have to go to school to be smart, apparently. In high school, my mom, unbeknownst to me, enrolled me in an experimental program as a college level program beginning in my sophomore year, which is interesting because I was playing in bands then at nightclubs at the young age of 13 years old.
Oh, that's funny. You're telling me that,
trying to help my mom pay the bills. Divorced mother of 3 boys, right? But yeah, so there was those were interesting times. But I did go to University of Maine after that. But my point is, in high school, when I graduated, the principal said, Ray, you could have graduated as a junior. You don't need to come back for your senior year. And I said, why is that? You are in an accelerated program that your mom put you in. You took college level mathematics. You did all. I did. Okay. I slept through half the classes, and apparently I did well enough to graduate. So yeah, when I went to the University of Maine, I didn't graduate there, but the first mathematics course I took was advanced algebra and something else. I believe it was a mixture of calculus and trig. And I said, you got to be kidding. I had this in high school.
Yeah.
So yeah, anyway, so I decided to have children, dropped out, went to work at DEC, a computer company, and the rest is history. Taught myself by reading things called books. They had these things called libraries back in those days.
That's strange.
There was no Googling of anything. But I worked alongside a lot of very, very smart people. And in those days, you had to mentor people because you just weren't churning people out of school with these degrees in networking. Right. Again, it was relatively new. But yeah, no, I'm self-taught. Did all kinds of cool stuff like digital. I owe them quite a bit of gratitude towards that company. If you wanted to learn and advance, digital never held you back. So I did that, and then I went to these things called the startup company because I saw these people driving Porsches.
For sure.
And I saw digital go out of business. 157,000 person company that invented interactive computing could go out of business, and they did, called the PC. I remember Ken Olson, God bless him, took us into a meeting at the Mill cafeteria in Maynard. He would take all of the groups through the cafeteria, and he had an IBM PC sitting on this table. And he said, basically, I'm paraphrasing, go back and do really good stuff with Gordon Bell's VAX platform because nobody's going to do serious computing on this thing. And we walked out of there. I remember looking at this guy, Amos, who was working with me. I said, Amos, I think we're in trouble. And we were. Anyway, so that, long story short, was really big at the networking. I then left and went to Cascade Communications, which was a high-flying startup in the Westwood area building ATM and frame relay switches, which was supposed to replace routers. And I said, well, I better get out of the router business because ATM is going to kill it. Well, ATM did well. It didn't wipe out the router business, but it did extremely well. And I did very well at Cascade. That's where I was a sponge. You want to learn how to be an entrepreneur, you work with entrepreneurs and you listen. I was just watching everything they did, emulating the behavior. And all of us went through sales training, by the way. I think I told you this once. Everybody, including the janitor, that we actually had a custodian. He went through sales training. Excellent. There wasn't anybody in that company that you couldn't talk to that understood why Cascade was in business and what it meant for the industry. That was, I got to tell you, when I went in front of, I was there for like 3 or 4 weeks, and they would give you a case study, a fictitious case study, design a network of fax, a fast packet fax network nationwide. And here's the budget, right? So you had to work within the budget, and we had a marketing guy and there's a team of 4 people, and you went into this big room and they had all these lights and cameras. It was really done up. It was very, very intimidating. Wow. And the founders and CEO, Dan, who's now my biggest investor and best friend and my chairman of the board, was the CEO at Cascade, and they were all looking at you, and you got to get up there and sound intelligent. I'm not so sure I actually sounded that intelligent. In fact, I don't think we won the prize for that, but it was really a good experience. And I owe a lot to Cascade. Cascade was amazing.
Mm.
And Dan, and then we'll wrap this up and you can ask your questions. But I remember
Sure.
Dan, I worked in professional services there.
You founded that group, right? Oh, no, that was at Sonus.
No, that was at Sonus. So
Yeah.
professional services at Cascade was really an overlay marketing,
Mm-hmm.
Sales and engineering group.
Mm-hmm.
So if engineering was too busy to implement a feature, we would do it. If we were too busy doing, marketing was too busy, we would chip in and do marketing, and so on. And I helped build a demonstration laboratory that used, in the very early days of internet television, a company called Precept out of California had an IPTV streamer. It was the first of its kind.
Wow.
And I remember calling the CEO, and she gave me a free copy of it. And I would use that to demonstrate quality of service by playing a CNBC interview of Dan on Squawk Box. And I'd put it up on 3 screens, and then I would introduce network congestion. And so all 3 screens would go bad. And then I would go ahead and lift a screen up at a time into an elevated priority, and that would work fine. And the other 2 was still degraded. And that became a visual demonstration of quality of service, which up until then was just a belief that you had to have, right? But in any event, I remember Dan asking me, "Hey, Ray, I'd like to introduce you to the CEO of 3Com rather. 3Com was a big network manufacturer back in the late 90s. And I'd like you to, give him a tour of Cascade and tell him all the good things that we do." And I'm like, "Okay, all right." So I would do that. And then, 2 or 3 weeks later, Dan would come to me and say, "Hey, Ray, this is Maury Ejabad. He's the CEO of Ascend Communications in California. Did you take him around, introduce him to the company, tell him why we're important and all that?" I'm like, "Okay, another CEO. What am I doing?" And little did I know that a couple of months later, we get bought by Ascend. So I said, "Oh, okay."
That's how that works.
What I was up to. Yeah, but that was very empowering to me. That Dan, the CEO of this Cascade, had that kind of faith in me. This professional services guy, right? To, spend time with these CEOs, both of which were intending to purchase Cascade. I didn't know that at the time. I'm glad I didn't know that.
Yeah.
But that was very empowering for me. And Dan did a lot of those things. And so it was a very special company. And the Ascend acquisition, of course, and then Lucent, $24 billion
Big
later.
beast. Yeah.
Unbelievable. Made some very strong friends, got good relationships to this day with, several of the executives. In fact, one of them has become a very good customer of mine very early. So yeah, that's kind of and then the Sonus networks, the voice thing. I knew nothing about voice except I didn't like answering the phone after 8:00 at night. That was an interesting play in the market. We took that public in 2000. I got there, it was about a year old. They already had probably 50 people, something like that, maybe a little bit more, working off of Series A venture. And Hassan, who is the CEO, brought me over from then Lucent. Hassan was the VP of engineering at Cascade. They just come over here and do your thing. Let's copy what Cascade did, Ray, and help me build out the rest of the company. And then we took it public, went through everything you could possibly go through, including Sarbanes-Oxley hell and all kinds of things, so that you learn a lot of what not to do in business, I think. And as I tell people,
I've got a lot of those lessons, Ray.
Yeah, founding this company was really based on my experience at Sonus when a lot of the VoIP companies came into being. And in those days, Kevin, voice over IP wasn't intended to be an innovative platform. The play by the venture capitalists were to build an inexpensive PBX. So prior to voice over IP,
PBX for the listeners and viewers is just a box for phones, right?
Right. It makes phones ring. And the wires on top of these phone poles would split into 24 smaller wires. Each one would connect to a PBX, and that would run the phone system for a company. Private branch exchange. I have no idea why they named it that, but a computer that makes phone calls. And those things were really expensive. You would spend for a small office $250,000 easily. Along comes IP-enabled voice, putting it on small routers and servers for a fraction of that. And so it was really price disruption with a little bit of innovation. There was, visual voicemail was becoming a thing in those days and whatnot. And so anyway, taking the company, helping it take it public, being part of that process was really amazing. And then the voice over IP companies that came into being really didn't have the quality and reliability built in.
All right, pause right there. Let's get back to quality, but we're going to take our first commercial. We'll just be back in about 60 seconds. Everybody will be back with Ray Pasquale, Unified Office.
Thanks.
You're listening to Winning Business Radio with Kevin Hallinan on W4CY Radio. That's W4CY.com. Don't go away. More helpful information is coming right up, right here on Winning Business Radio.
Bastion Wealth Management is family-owned for 2 generations. They take pride in thoughtful financial planning and wealth management with a family feel for your closely held family business. Bastion Wealth Management focuses on deep planning, integrating your business planning with personal. They will help put your money to work and your mind at ease. Go to bastionwealthmanagement.com for more information. Advisory services offered through Commonwealth Financial Network, a registered investment advisor. Join the Bastion family and let our family advise your family. That's bastionwealthmanagement.com for your complimentary initial consultation.
Have you ever dreamt of being on the radio? Well, now is your chance. Be a radio show guest on the #1 ranked internet radio station and promote you and your business for free. Yes, you heard it, free. Business advertising right here on W4CY.com. Call 561-506-4031 now to get booked on one of our shows. That's 561-506-4031. Get your free advertising now.
And now back to Winning Business Radio with Kevin Hallinan, presenting exciting topics and expert guests with one goal in mind, to help you succeed in business. Here once again is Kevin Hallinan.
We're back with Ray Pasquale, founder, CEO, and president of Unified Office. So take us back to quality, go from there, because that's going to take us to where you are now.
Yeah, so back in those days, there was a lot of choppiness, right? It still is to a large degree. A lot of the cloud providers, for example, the idea behind VoIP in those days was, let's put a plastic PBX in the cloud someplace in the United States, and then we'll ship plastic phones to people's desktops, and you won't need any on-premise equipment. In those days, the PBX was an on-premise device.
Right.
And so now putting it in the cloud, now you're going to be able to aggregate thousands of people on that one platform instead of just 25 to 30. But there is obviously the internet wasn't built for real-time data. It was basically built for the military, best effort and built to survive, by the way, right? That was the whole idea behind it. It's survivability. And so the quality thing was, in the early days, and I could try to explain how I think it works today when you watch, Netflix, is basically they've over-engineered networks, even as bandwidth has become basically free. It's not exactly the width of the highway. If you've been to California and driven to the 405, it's a pretty wide highway, but it's always stopped, right? So the quality of the connections were always the key to offering reliable, high quality voice or video. But it never quite worked in practice. So I decided in late 2008 or so, 9, whatever, that I was going to go off, leave Sonus and build, I called it pulling a Steve Jobs. I was going to reinvent voice over IP so that it had the same cost characteristics. It was going to be inexpensive, but it would work, and it would work with extreme reliability and extreme quality. And once I figured out how to do that, and that took 2 or 3 years of engineering in patent development, we patented something called highest quality routing, which is, having been a veteran of early day routing protocols in the internet, Tom and I, my CTO, we worked together at network engineering at DEC. We were there for the early days of internet protocol development. And so we borrowed concepts from the data protocols that we helped implement, and applied that to voice networking. So we're able to build a nationwide voice network out of virtual servers with companies like Rackspace. GoDaddy's another type of company where you can rent a part of a server without buying the whole thing, so your input costs are quite low, and you're able to pass that along to your customers. And the other thing is something called a SIP trunk. If anybody wants to know what they are, the old days, if you had an on-premise PBX made by Lucent, for example, you had to pull a black cable from the telephone pole into your office and plug that in to the PBX. And that's what would carry your voice. When the internet came, you got an internet connection which carried data. Voice has now become data, just like web browsing. They built a software extrapolation of that hardware cable and called it a SIP trunk. SIP, not for drinking. It stands for Session Interconnect Protocol, which means build me a voice session over the internet. Right? Start dialing numbers. And most VoIP companies, even today require SIP trunking. You need to buy a SIP trunk for your business before you put VoIP on it. Well, that's an added cost. And some of those trunks they range between $50 and $100 a month. That's before you pay me to be your voice provider. We engineered this thing called HQRP that got rid of that notion. We don't need SIP trunks. As a customer, you will not need to buy one of those. And so your cost goes to zero from whatever they were charging. So that was a big deal.
And reliability, though. Quality.
And reliability, and right, building a nationwide interconnected network of Rackspace virtual servers and other companies. And this is geographically diverse. They're all sort of fully duplexed and meshed together, it's a fault tolerant network. It can survive the failure of several components. And so that's the always available voice aspect of HQRP that you also enjoy as a basic voice customer. So we took care of all that. And so that invention brought you the quality and reliability of the old-fashioned phone network on your internet. And you don't have to buy special circuits to get this, to do this. You could buy just a simple circuit from Comcast like you would for your home, and you can run the unified office over that, and it works perfectly fine. So that was step one. Step two is, how do I then make voice become more valuable? Well, what do you mean by that, Ray? Well,
yeah, it's taken for granted, or it was.
Well, yeah, I mean, it still kind of is until it doesn't work. When you go to pick up the phone to call the fire department and you get no dial tone, then it's important to you, right? Nobody emails the fire department saying my house is on fire, or the police department, somebody's breaking into your home. But having said that, what I mean by more valuable is communications is valuable. But the idea of VoIP in the early days was a lot of marketing that went out and said, we're going to make this cheap for you. And then John Chambers at Cisco said, in fact, we're going to make this free. So that dreaded F word, free, became part of the nomenclature that everybody said, I shouldn't have to pay for voice. It should be free. Well, I don't know about you, but you've been here. I don't have people here that work for, they all get paid, right? They get salaries, they get benefits to make sure that free network or sort of free is always up and running and is there when you need it. Now, how do you make it valuable? We know all about your digital life. Google, Microsoft, Amazon, everybody, they've been data mining all your keystrokes, your purchasing habits, your viewing habits, Netflix, Hulu, Tubi, all these things. But really, nobody has done this with conversations. Now, when I say data mine, that's sort of a pejorative term. And I don't mean it to be in this context. So what I wanted to try to do, and we've done that very successfully here, was build a suite of analytics. In the early days, we built, and we still build it. I said, but after HQRP became a thing, then it made sense now to innovate on top of that, intelligent applications. These are drag and drop or pre-built applications that require no engineering expertise on behalf of our customers. The first incarnation of that was something we called Visual Performance Suite. It runs on a big screen television or monitor with speakers. A lot of our pizza customers use this. It's not just for pizza customers, Domino's being one of our largest customers.
But that application, I was going to ask you to talk about that. That's an easy to understand application for the audience.
Yeah, I mean, basically it's a visual coach. It shows you all the people that are dialing in. It shows you whether they're a supervisor, manager, a driver, whether you're an MVP, returning customer, right? You'll see that and you'll hear it. But our software will actually answer the phones for you and engage the customer in conversation by playing your marketing messaging. Meanwhile, so, we're engaging you and saying, hey, today you can buy 3 pizzas for the price of 1. Please hang on while and then somebody will have to pick up the phone and take your order eventually. But the interesting part of that eventually is that this young lady in Orlando told me that with Unified Office, we're way more productive. And she said we increased her yield. Yield? How do we increase your yield? Because Ray, I don't have to stop and pick the phone up. I can continue to make the previous pizza order while you guys are playing my marketing messaging. I get it in the oven, then I can take the call. And so you multiply that times 4 or 5 workers, and you can see where yield makes sense there. So,
and let me interject. They can see each caller ID and name.
Yep.
And they can know how long they've been on hold, and they can actually, in some cases, know ordering history.
You'll know, you won't know their ordering history yet.
Okay.
We do integrate with your point of sale system, so that's doable. But the idea is that we show the workers who's calling in. We actually show them what language they speak, so that somebody if calls in and speaks French or Spanish, you'll know that ahead of time. So somebody that happens to speak that language in the store can pick up the call and take it. You also know things like drivers. Where are the drivers? You can see in one lower quadrant of the screen the Drivosity application that shows you where all the delivery drivers are at that moment in time in your jurisdiction. You'll also get these speedometers that score the behavior of the business. And you don't get any busy signals from Unified Office.
Right, never lose a call. Right.
No such thing as a busy signal. We're going to drive and deliver all the calls that you can generate inbound demand for. And so the combination of our software answering the phones for you and showing you the real-time analytics that allows you as an owner or an operator to make real-time adjustments, and your business often results in increased revenue without anything else happening. Just by putting Unified Office, we've had 1 or 2 of these independent guys call us within a week after implementation of our platform saying, you guys are amazing. I need to tell the world about you. You drove my revenues north of 35% the first week we turned you on. That's incredible. Now, I remember asking one of these folks, I'm a little dumb here, what's a pizza shop like you guys do on an annual basis?
Yeah.
I didn't know. He said, well, I'll tell you what we do every week. We do about $45,000 a week. 45,000 a week? Yep.
Most of that over 2 nights.
You're claiming we added 30 to 35%? Absolutely. In fact, we had to redesign our kitchen around your display. So I looked at my CFO who was with me. We were having a slice of pizza for lunch. They didn't know who we were, by the way. We didn't, we're not out there with our faces every day. So, and they said, Peter, 10% of 45, that's 4,500, 30%, like $14,000 a week. They paid for their entire 4-year contract in a few nights.
Yeah.
Right. So I remember saying to Peter, we're not charging enough for this platform. Anyway, that's the unintended side effect of this. I didn't build it to generate more revenue, but it just so happens it does. And so that was the underpinnings of our first incarnation of visual analytics. Now you take and apply artificial intelligence.
Yeah, this is where it gets cool.
To this. And we've done a couple of things with AI, one of which is our most recent announcement is something called Easy Create IQ. So what is that? It's a drag and drop interface. You can use your iPad, you can use your mouse on your laptop. Basically, there's a palette with some widgets. And this widget might say, sentiment analysis. That was the first product that we announced several years ago.
Yep.
Was AI wasn't a thing back then when we first introduced the idea of sentiment detection in phone calls, which was we just simply wanted to say, hey, Kevin, you need to take it down a notch. There's some, we can tell that you're starting to aggravate the customer because whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It was almost like real-time whisper coaching. So you could look at these recorded calls after the fact and determine, as an owner operator, where you needed to do training. You could see how the staff was, or the customers were abusing the staff potentially.
And let's pause on that. Prior to that, those that had the budget and the willingness, or somebody on staff, they'd have to mystery shop. They'd have to listen to those recordings or call in themselves. Very inefficient, very time consuming, costly as well.
Oh, that's right. That's right. You had to do this manually.
And that was just a sampling versus now they can hear, or the system can.
Every single call is analyzed. And in real time, you're given information that you can use, right? So that's a good point by you. I should probably know this. I do know it, but I often take it for granted. And so there's a lot of things. This is an general AI platform. You can build all kinds of AI services with Easy Create. You can build an agent, your own agent. Now, we're not here to replace workers or people.
Right.
Our philosophy around AI is to build safe AI for businesses. And what I mean by that is, a lot of people really don't understand AI hallucinations and the trouble these things. Remember, this is a synthetic device. It's not a human. Mm-hmm. And generative AI in particular was built to guess the next statistically probable next word in a sentence, not accuracy or truth. And so it takes a lot of work for us, and we're an engineering company, to maximize the reliability of the information that you're seeing and to eliminate as much as possible hallucinations. And I really can't get into it in this interview how we do this. It's very complicated work.
Right.
One of the fellows that works for us came from Amazon's and worked on Amazon's Alexa platform. He's got a really rich history in AI. Tom, my CTO's done machine learning for most of his life. I've got a little bit of everything in me. And so this is, not your average, ordinary, small voice over IP company. In fact, we're not really small. And so now, we've given you the opportunity to drag and drop your own AI services using your fingers, not having to hire an engineer.
Right. This is not a technical thing. This is if somebody can use, what's an analogy they can use? Facebook.
If you can use a mouse.
There you go. There you go.
Right.
Okay. Good. There you go. Right.
You can design your own services, and I don't know what they might be. For a lawyer, they might be very different than a pizza shop operator, than a car dealer.
Right.
One of those is sentiment detections. There's several others, and we're always adding pre-built widgets that you can drag and drop. And for example, inbound call coming. So you grab inbound call, you connect it to a transcription engine, transcribe the call, and then there's outputs. If it's transcribed, send it to sentiment detection box. So you drag a line to that, and out of the detection box, sentiment says if it was a good call, go this way. If it was a negative call, send a text message and an email immediately to the following email and phone addresses. And 4 or 5 blocks, and you hit apply, and you've created a service that will do these things. And so you go from that to coaching. You mentioned scoring calls, I think. The early days of, one of our largest operators or Domino's franchise owners, he's got, I think, well over 100 stores by now. He had to go manually cherry pick a handful of calls every week, call his stores to make sure their customer service reps were portraying the company properly. And that's how he knew where to go spend his time in coaching and whatnot. So now you've got Unified Office with Easy Create IQ with their coaching plugin, which we call Engage IQ. That plugin, pre-built, will do the scoring for you. You answer a few questions, right? The configuration is relatively easy to do. and you hit apply and go, and we will score all the conversations taking place in your footprint. Thousands of them by the hour, the day, what have you. And so that's a very big deal, right? You didn't have that kind of instrumentation before. If you're a pilot, you can appreciate when I took flying lessons in these old trainers, these Piper Cubs, they had steam gauges. These things are brutal, right? And then you look at a Garmin cockpit today, it's fully instrumented. It's so much easier. And so by providing you with giving you as a pilot the information at your fingertips to run your business is basically what we do.
All right, let's pause right there. Ray, we're going to take our last commercial. We'll be right back with Ray Pasquale.
You're listening to Winning Business Radio with Kevin Hallinan on W4CY Radio. That's W4CY.com. Don't go away. More helpful information is coming right up, right here on Winning Business Radio.
Bestian Wealth Management is family-owned for 2 generations. They take pride in thoughtful financial planning and wealth management with a family feel for your closely held family business. Bestian Wealth Management focuses on deep planning, integrating your business planning with personal. They will help put your money to work and your mind at ease. Go to bestianwealthmanagement.com for more information. Advisory services offered through Commonwealth Financial Network, a registered investment advisor. Join the Bestian family and let our family advise your family. That's bestianwealthmanagement.com for your complimentary initial consultation.
The YP.com website is your local search engine. If you're looking for a good restaurant, it can help you find the right one nearby with ratings and reviews. Or if your car breaks down, you can use the YP app to find the closest repair shop. Or maybe you're just looking for something to do on a Friday night. Well, it has great local coupons for all sorts of things in your area. No matter what, when, or where, if you're looking for something, YP Local Search can help you find it. So go to YP.com or download the app to search local, find local, and save local.
And now back to Winning Business Radio with Kevin Hallinan, presenting exciting topics and expert guests with one goal in mind, to help you succeed in business. Here once again is Kevin Hallinan.
Ray, you like to say we're not a phone company, and you also like to remind people that our potential customers don't know what they don't know. So why do people need analytics? What do they need what you bring to the table and they don't even know they need it?
You don't know you need it till you see it, right? You've never listened to these conversations. You've taken them for granted. And half the time, most people react when a customer walks in and starts yelling at you, right? What do your workers swore at me last night? Or whatever the case may be, right? You sort of, in your conversational world, you're flying blind. By using Unified Office's pre-built or build your own apps, you're going to be able to avoid these one-star Google reviews. You're going to be able to avoid the angry customer to a large degree. And we can't prevent 100% of it. But
they would never know if they lost
today,
a customer.
You never know. You don't see anything.
Right.
And so by giving you, that's what I'm like, we've given this airplane a full cockpit of instrumentation, and we've made it easy to look at, easy to digest. And furthermore, because of the noise and the hype in the AI market, and there's a lot of noise.
Right.
The signal is very faint still. We're platform agnostic. In other words, Claude, Anthropic, Cursor AI, ChatGPT from OpenAI, any of these guys end up not being in business one day, or God forbid something happens with pricing, which happens almost every other day. It's a changing environment. There's going to be a shakeout. We're outside of that, right? We're orbiting that structure. And so we'll be able to tolerate the failure of any one of these companies. And not even the failure of it, the changing business models.
Right.
Access restrictions recently occurred with Claude. So Anthropic, there was this thing
Anthropic just booted out of the government. Yeah, right.
Yeah, well, the government, that's one thing. That's another issue. You've got other issues regarding privacy. You've got our most recent issue where somebody was taught how to use a gun, how to load it, and the best time of day to shoot at somebody. And I think it was a high school or a college in Florida. There's all these things happening. Again, there's a shakeout coming, but my customers should know that we are outside of that. And there's lots and lots of companies around the world now that build their own language models, that have transcription engines, are becoming more and more open source, i.e. less proprietary, which means the price gets lower. And I believe that the all this hype that you're hearing about, and we need nuclear power plants to generate these power for data centers.
All the power, yeah.
That's all starting to move to the edge. And I would say, well, the next 5 years, it's all going to be at the edge of the network. And by the time these data centers are ready, they won't be needed. So, we do protect our customers from that as much as we can. So there are companies that don't do that. They're in the belly of the beast, and God forbid something doesn't happen to one of these, even one feature added over a weekend can put some of these companies out of business. Yeah. I'm not going to name them, but I know who they are. So we try to do the best we can to limit the damage that a .com-like burst, little burst will do. So
you're in verticals like quick serve restaurants, Domino's, pizza places.
We're a vertically focused company.
Right.
We focus on a handful of verticals.
Full service restaurants,
full service, casual,
dental practices, medical, allied, hospitality, auto dealers, wellness. Talk about some of the examples. Like, why would a dental practice need this?
Some of these features that we implemented pretty arcane on the surface, but when you think about it, look at a dental practice with a lot of people. We have one of the largest ones in New England and Boston as a customer.
Right.
I think there's like 100 people that work there. They pick up the phone. Hey, Kevin, how are you? Hey, looks like you need an appointment for your daughter. Okay. Oh, by the way, you owe us $150. Oh, I got to put you on hold, Kevin. Hold on. I put you on hold. Somebody else in the office picks it up. Prior to Unified Office, they're going to have to rediscover you again. Who's this? Kevin, oh, what can I do for you? I just had this conversation. We preserve that context. So if somebody else picks up the call, they already know what you've gone through. They already know that you owe them $150 and you want to make an appointment for the daughter. So we do those kinds of things. And we actually give them the same instrumentation for their business practice as we give to everybody else. Engage IQ. We can look at your recorded calls. We can give you classify the data that we see in those calls. You might have patients calling and trying to enlighten you to a new procedure they saw recently or heard about that you didn't know about. So it's a two-way sort of, it benefits both the client, the patient, and the doctor in the practice. So again, it's not ever having looked at conversational information. You have no idea what has taken place over the voice channel of your practice. So look, they all get the same instrumentation. They all get the same classifications. The data is different for each of these verticals. But it's one of those things where, we run discovery mode, for example, when you first put us in. We're going to sit there and just look. And then we're going to tell you, this is what we found. And largely what we're working on right now is to actually distill that pie chart, which is very structured, but there's still a lot of wedges. So it's still kind of noisy visually. What we're going to do is provide the 4 or 5 top things that we think you need to focus on. And we're going to make recommendations as to how to remediate this with a button that'll say, by the way, if you want to see all the rest of the pie chart, click here. You can explode the whole thing. The idea is we're going to do a lot of the thinking for you so that we don't want to give you more work to do. We're trying to take work away from you and make your life as easy as possible in this noisy, fast-changing world. That's all we do here. Every feature we implement, every product we build is completely focused on making your life easier and more in giving you the information that you've not had before, and in helping you process it so that you benefit from it, you and your patients or your auto customers or what have you, hotel operators.
You have a new big one coming online soon. Tell us the use case there.
Came online a week and a half ago.
Nice.
It's in Martha's Vineyard. And what we developed several years ago for the hotel industry was something called, I called it an in-room concierge. It's basically a tablet And it could be just a straight tablet, and you can talk to the microphone on it, or you can grab a tablet with a handset and buy that from our distributors.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea was to return passive revenue generation to the hotel rooms. How would they do that? The tablet would have tiles, will have tiles on it. Each one of those tiles can be sold to a local area business, right? To advertise a restaurant, bicycle rental shop, who knows what.
It's going to replace, I think this is funny. It's going to replace the photocopied list of local stuff, right? Yeah.
A piece of paper that sits
which
in
they're not getting any even thank you from, really. They're referring out and getting.
Yeah. So you're getting paid to carry in all 110 rooms that ad, right? And I don't know how much you guys, the marketing teams will charge for it. That's up to them. But the whole notion is you can touch that tile and you can either order food, let's say, or make a reservation from that device. You can check in, check out. You can order supplies for the room. We've even got, you've been here, you've seen the robot in our lobby. We've integrated with robots for the hotel operators that need help. In other words, they don't have a lot of humans.
So I go to a lot of hotels. There are a lot of those, actually.
Right. So the idea
even nice
robots
chains.
is to help maximize the housekeeping staff to do deliveries to the rooms of certain products, whatever.
Extra towels.
Anyway, long story short, So it helps it helps the hotel operators become more productive. We integrate with their PMS systems so that we can, when you say I need shampoo for the room, hit go. We'll integrate with their messaging system if they have one. If they don't have one, we will use our messaging system to locate the nearest worker that can satisfy that request. You'll also get in-room dining. You won't get. Here's what I saw recently, which gave me the idea at Disney. Big hotel in Disney. You want to eat in your room? You want to order room service? You make a phone call. The kitchen can't take the call. This thing went over to a point of sale printer at the bar, and I was watching the paper just spew onto the floor. And I asked the bartender, I said, what's that? He goes, that's room service orders that the kitchen can't take because they're too busy. I said, but it's on the floor. He goes, yeah, I can't take it either. And people were coming up to the bar screaming at this guy.
Wow. Yeah.
This was like, 7 or 8 years ago. And I said, you know what? I can fix this. So again, part of what we do is we observe, we listen, and we observe, and we build that kind of deterministic structure into our product suite for the hotel operators that says that won't happen. We're going to route those calls. We give you an intelligent routing application that it's easy to implement on your own, that ensures that somebody is going to get that order, that it will not go to the floor off a point of sale printer. So again, we can lead a horse to water, but we can't make it a mule. But we're going to give you every opportunity to maximize the potential of your business. There's no excuses with Unified Office. And so by being vertically focused, we're able to understand the pain points of each of these verticals.
Exactly.
And then build those products that are important and germane to them.
All right, one more topic. We're almost out of time. You offer a partnership program as well, where example would be a managed service provider, an IT company who's in front of the same audience often. They can carry our solutions in their suite. Talk about that.
So they can. So we're basically a channels-based company, right? And to your point, these guys are out there, these IT people in particular, they don't have much to offer, right? They're offering plain old vanilla phone
they just
service.
have a phone, right. And many of them do, right.
And a lot of businesses today don't want to deal with multiple IT companies, right? They want one person to sell everything to them.
Right.
So, a lot of our partners, before Unified Office came on the scene for them, they would either drop voice because it was problematic. The quality was horrible. And so it was hurting their practice. Well, that prevented them from going and answering a lot of RFPs that said, you must also offer voice.
Yeah.
So by combining Unified Office with your IT platform, we're able to help them open up new markets together, right? And now they're relevant. They're offering something that's life-changing for their customers that up until now has just been cheap voice.
Right. It really is so different. I hope we got that point across. It really is so different. And that partner can develop a recurring revenue stream.
That recurring revenue stream. That's right. Every month they'll get paid as long as they got a customer, and we ask them to do some tier 1 work. And by building, if they want, they could also monetize the AI platform by building those easy create services for their customers as well.
Yep, they could do that.
Yep. So that's a professional service that they're able to offer should the customer decide they don't want that responsibility. So yeah, no, it's a great platform. Not because I built the company, but it's an amazing company that there's so much more that we do. And you know, from talking to me, I sometimes forget to talk about these things, and I'm used to it because I'm here every day.
Right.
And I forget that it's, such an important company, especially in today in the AI storm that we're all sort of trying to navigate our way through. So.
All right. Last 2 questions. Who in the viewing and listening audiences should reach out and why? And the second is the best way for people to get in touch. Look at the crawl. It's coming in a second. Let's start with that. Who should reach out to you or one of your teammates?
A reseller, an IT shop, a current legacy phone system reseller that wants to be part of this new world.
Right.
End users as well. So we also sell direct. And the reason we want to sell direct is because we can't identify every MSP that might be out there. We'll learn who their IT shop is and then get a hold of their IT shop and help them become a reseller.
Right.
And so it works in both directions. So unifiedoffice.com, there's easy contact us forms on the website. That's the easiest way to do it. 877-589-3700. That number's out there as well. And you'll get a hold of Ken, you'll get a hold of Lori and the team, and you'll be well taken care of.
Sounds good, DJ. Yeah. All right. So listen, thank you so much for giving of your time. I appreciate it. I know the audiences will appreciate this, and I appreciate you.
Good. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. And thanks everybody for watching and listening. This is a show about business success, business challenges. If you've got concerns about the sales effectiveness of your company, whether you're small or large or somewhere in the middle, give me a call or reach out to me. That's kevin@winningbusinessradio.com. One of my many email addresses. We're Winning Incorporated, part of Sandler Training. We develop sales people, sales teams into high achievers and sales leaders into true coaches and mentors. Hey, we're not a fit for everybody, but maybe we should have a conversation. Thank you again to Juan, our engineer and producer, for another job well done. Be sure to join us next Monday, May 4th, when my guest will be Erica Wasserman, founder of Your Financial Therapist. Until then, this is Kevin Hallinan.
You have been listening to Winning Business Radio with your host, Kevin Hallinan. If you missed any part of this episode, the podcast is available on Talk4 Podcasting and iHeartRadio. For more information and questions, go to winningbusinessradio.com or check us out on social media. Tune in again next week and every Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time to listen live to Winning Business Radio on W4CY Radio, W4CY.com. Until then, let's succeed where others have failed and win in business with Kevin Hallinan and Winning Business Radio.